Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morris, I'm director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. In this video we're going to be talking a lot about film, the film industry, philosophy regarding going out and making films on a low budget or no budget, and about the idea of folk filmmaking in general. We'll also be shouting out a couple of the artists that are in this sort of scene, and we'll just be talking in general about the technicals, the creatives, and the limitations that come with a low budget, and just general philosophy regarding this sort of topic. So we're going to be doing a couple of these sort of videos. They'll all be around this same length, and I'm just going to be going from place to place, setting up shots, just doing my own little thing, and we'll see what comes out of it. So hope you enjoy. Thank you very much. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit around planning films and planning your own shoot for when you start getting out there and starting to do stuff. When you first begin, I was very much the same, you get this sort of feeling that you need to make everything perfect, that you need to make sure that you've got exactly the right best camera, the best equipment. You need to make sure that you've got all the right locations, get everything nailed beforehand before you even hit record for the first thing. And I'd like to challenge that a little bit, and that you don't need to have everything planned out, because plans fail. Every plan fails. You ever plan like a gathering with your friends? You ever realize just how difficult that is? Because your friends can be a pain in the ass, and they'll end up changing your plans because someone will go, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not free here, all that kind of stuff, and it'll end up just becoming a nightmare trying to get that done if you stick to such a rigid plan. I'm reminded again, I spoke about in another video, someone that I know who's been spending 2 years trying to organise a game of laser tag because he's so insistent on getting everything planned exactly right. And you're never going to get everything planned exactly right. You're never going to have everything turn out exactly the way you see it in your head, unless you have the resources to do that. If you've got, £100,000 to spend on like a very low budget type thing, sure, you can make what you want. But when you're working with the kind of £100, £200, maybe £1,000 budgets that I'm used to, you can't really approach film in that sort of traditional way. You need to start approaching it in some unconventional way where you can look at things differently, where you can look at things as they are. Like right now, I've got all these extras behind me. I don't know if you can see them actually, but there's people going up and down behind there. If this was a big budget shoot, for instance, like a £10 million thing, you might have people that are asked to walk around in the background, or you might have a restaurant scene where you get loads of extras to play people in the background pretending to have a conversation doing a bit of this. And the reason that they do that is so that when you want to combine multiple takes, because the reason they don't have people in the background having little conversations, which is what I always used to think they would do, I used to think that they scripted out conversations for the extras to say, and maybe those conversations would somehow help the theme of the film. If it's a film about death, maybe you'd have like a couple of extras in the background going, "Ooh, my grandma's, terminal," or whatever, And turns out they get them to mouth like this. I'm trying to say out a sentence, right? I just tried to say, my name is Jonny Mozza, and this is Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. And I feel like if you tried to dub it over, my name is Jonny Mozza, and this is Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, it's not going to fit over it, because it isn't how people talk. And, if you plan things out, I feel like you sterilize your film if you plan too much. It's the same way if you rehearse too much for your gig. You're going to get out there and you're not going to give the best performance. You'll have realized that your best performance of those songs was the time that you were in the basement beforehand with your bandmates, just performing the song again and again and again and again. And it would have been in like one of the middle versions of the song. When you did it like 10 times, it would have been the fifth one would have been the best one. So if you try and perfect things, then you are going to end up with a worse product than if you just go with the flow. And what I've been doing the past few days is meeting up with a load of people that I've met via Mandy.com, which is a recruitment sort of site for connecting actors, filmmakers, directors, producers, cameramen, gaffers, everything like that. It's essentially a networking website, and I use it to try and get in touch with different people that have the same kind of mentality towards film that I do, and people that can go along with the flow, even if they don't have the same mentality, because I know that my way of doing things isn't the be all and end all. But I think for what your project is, you need to have your own be all and end all. So if I was to go and help those people that, like, if I go and help Neve, for instance, on her film, and she has a different mentality to doing film, which I'm sure she does, I would go along with her flow and go along with what she wants to do and go along with how she approaches film. And we would end up with two very different products. Even if we both took our crack at the exact same story, we would end up with two different things. Because we're different people, because we have different stories that led us to this point, and because we have different philosophies about the world and about ourselves and our place within the world, and different mentalities on what, you know, the purpose of entertainment is. Is entertainment there to make you think? Is it there to be escapism? Is it there to remind you of things in the real world as a commentary on the issues of the day? And these are all valid takes for different things, you know? And it's very important, I think, for you to know your voice. If you know your voice, then you're going to get a way better end product, even if you don't have the best camera, even if you don't have professional actors, even if you don't have a crew that knows what they're doing and they're like, you know, slack-jawed layabouts that you met through, you know, your film university. You're going to end up with a good product because you have an extremely vivid idea of what to do and how to do it. And because you know how to get the results that you want, you can get them. If you don't know how to get what you want, then there's no point in doing this, because you're going to end up with a product that's essentially kind of the same thing as when, you know, you get like a boardroom and they'll all have different ideas of what you should be doing. I want this film to have a little love B plot, and I think this film we should insert an action scene here, and, like, you know, what's this saying? A camel is a horse designed by committee. And that's when money's involved. If you don't know what you're doing and you're allowing other people to essentially invade your vision, then you're going to end up with a camel without the financial backing and, you know, the payday at the end of it. That is the reason that people make those kind of films. The reason that, you know, people sign on to these, you know, huge $200 million budget Hollywood films without any real creative control is because they get a payday out of it, and they can then use those paydays sometimes to go off and support themselves while they create genuine artistic expressions. Or maybe it's they want, you know, an extension on their house in Hawaii or whatever, you know. That is why they do it. And if you're going out there and are unsure of what you want, then you're going to end up with a crap product, no matter if you're filming with an Arri Alexa or like an iPhone 5S, right? You will end up with the same filtered down, sterile end result. That means you might as well not have bothered trying to express yourself artistically. So I would say that whilst I don't think planning is important and I think you should go with the flow, I also am a firm believer in knowing what you want. Sometimes there'll be a shot in front of me and I think that is a gorgeous shot, but I won't get it because I have no need for it. It doesn't fit with what I am trying to do. And so I go and find a different shot that might even not look, you know, technically as good. It might not be, you know, gorgeous vistas like that. Well, it's not really a gorgeous vista, is it? It's a Millennium bloody wheel. But you end up with something that helps progress your story in a more interesting way. You know, I used to, when I was younger and first getting involved in film, I didn't really know what my stories were about. And I struggled to explain them to people. And I was always stumbling over my own stories. And it ended up resulting in these films that feel like this weird mishmash of ideas that, you know, could have been interesting if someone had, you know, taken me aside and just gone, you need to focus this down on a particular idea, a particular vision. You're trying to get everything and you can't. And when you're working with these kind of low budgets, like what I'm doing and like what you're likely doing as well, you need to have that vision, because that vision is worth more than $200 million. You know, it's worth more than, you know, your own time. There's no point in spending all your time and your money and your mental well-being, because that's what you're doing. A long, intensive film journey that you go on is sacrificing a bit of your own mental well-being for the sake of art. Like when I did my last film, Sheffield Psychedelic, I sacrificed a lot of my mental well-being, way too much. It caused a lot of problems in my life. And for the end result, it's not a film that I'm particularly proud of. I'm proud of what we did, and I'm proud of getting everyone together to do this thing, and I'm proud of what I learned from that experience. And the end result is fun, but I feel like it's laughing at it fun, not laughing with it fun. And I feel like if I had done that film now, I would have done it so differently. And you know, it is essentially a snapshot of your own life in that moment and you know, of your own state of maturity, because maturity isn't a linear curve. You know, it's not like the older you get, the more mature you get. There was a period last year where I was less mature than I was about 8 years ago, because of the life circumstances that you're in. That's what matters. You know, I was going through some issues that I'm not going to get into, but because of that, because my mind was so clouded, it meant that I was less able to practice maturity compared to, say, 8 years ago when I was a lot more stable as a human being. And if you try and treat maturity like it's a linear curve, you're going to end up having a hard time with life, because you're going to find out, you're going to have that challenge a lot. And the reason that I do film, and the reason that despite going through all of that shit, I'm bouncing myself, I'm diving back into it and going back into the fray and putting myself back through that same pain, is because this time I have a vision. I have something so concrete that I want to get across. And right now I am getting it across. I'm getting across to you that planning isn't everything. I haven't planned this. I haven't even got notes. I haven't got a script. I haven't got notes. I didn't even know where I was going to film this. I didn't even know that I was going to film this. I just knew that this was a cool location, and I thought I could sit here and talk to the camera. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. I did one take where it was a bit naff, so I stopped it and I figured, all right, I'm going to talk about the idea of planning. And the idea of planning, you know, I'm not saying, by the way, that never do any planning whatsoever. Obviously, you need to plan, like, you know, what time you're going to be at your location, and, like, you know, if you want a restaurant and you need to go talk to a restaurant owner and get their permission, or, you know, if you don't want to get their permission, you need to find a way that you're going to do it without getting permission. In my case, it's going to be shooting it from outside the restaurant and having them in the window. And also for something like that, that means that we need to get there a bit earlier so that we can make sure that the table that I want is free. So, you know, you're planning all these little details, but you're not paralyzing yourself through the plan, and you're not letting the plan override the moment, I think is the most important thing. Don't let the plan override the moment, because if you're doing that, then you're essentially trying to catch lightning in a bottle with a fishing net, and you're never going to catch it. You're just going to burn your net, which I don't think is the way to do film. I think, having been on large film sets, I don't feel like it's a true expression of art. I feel like it's an expression of business interests. You know how paintings can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's essentially a tax avoidance scheme? That's what films are. These big budget films, they are a tax avoidance scheme. And it works. It certainly works, because none of these films make a profit. You know, Return of the Jedi never made a profit. It's a Star Wars fucking movie. It was the third Star Wars movie when everyone was so excited for it, you know? It never made a profit, so that meant that it never had to pay off its, pay its director. It never had to pay the main actors, like the percentage of the film, and as a result, there were tax benefits that came towards them that they were able to take advantage of and then not pay back into the system. And I don't think that film should be this business corporate thing. I think that film should be about personal expression, the same way that an author sits down to pen their novel. I think a film director should sit down, call everyone that they can, get the resources that they can, and then just get to the set with their idea and make it. And don't let plans get in the way of what you want to do, because you can do it. You've got the ability within you to do it. I'm not like a people person particularly. I'm not someone that can like just rock up and charm someone into giving me what they want. But what I do have is this ability to somehow bring people together for a singular purpose, a singular vision. And in the past, I didn't even know what my vision totally was. It was locked like that when you should be locked like that, right? And now I feel like I am locked like that, okay? Particularly because the way that I want to do this film, even though I've been scripting it, I stopped writing the script actually because I don't want to script it. I want to film it fairly chronologically, not completely chronologically, but more or less chronologically. That way, when we turn up to a set, I know what the context of the film is so far, and I know what I need to get out of the scene, because those are the most important things. And when you try and mishmash all these different things and film it out of sequence, that's when the plan becomes so much more intrinsic, because it's so easy to get it wrong. That's when hair length starts coming into the equation. That's when, you know, say someone that you know needs to go like is getting I don't know, like surgery for their face, and then they turn up 6 months later. I had it with someone on a film where we were doing some reshoots, and the hair's completely different. You know, you don't have this control over people, especially when you're this low budget, because I'm not paying him. I don't have control over his life and what hair he has, you know. So it's my fault for not making something that's feasible, and we ended up creating something that, you know, is desperately clinging on to the idea when you shouldn't be desperate. You should be, you know, confident and consistent, and just having fun as well. You should be having fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, then stop, because I don't think that you're going to be making something that you're going to look back on and think that all that misery was worth it. And I know I've said that I went through pain and hardship to make a film, because making a film isn't easy. It's not an easy process. It is difficult. Sometimes you have to get up early. Sometimes you have to have late nights. Sometimes you're stuck in central London for 3 hours while you're in between interviewing 2 people, which is my situation now. I've just gone to speak to Neve, and now I'm going to wait for someone called Camilla. So, yeah, that's essentially what I'm talking about with regard to film. Am I all right to film here, by the way? Is it? I'll take it. Is this all right to film here?
Sorry?
Is this all right to film here?
I think so. What are you filming?
I'm just filming a piece to camera, so I can move it if it's in the way or anything like that.
What is it about?
Well, I'm working on a film at the moment, just a little sort of indie sort of film. So I'm just doing little pieces to camera where I'm just describing the process along the way. Just 'cause I'm waiting for actors to show up, and I'm just here early, so I've got the camera. I figured do something, you know. Yeah.
I don't think there's a problem. They'll soon tell me if there is.
All right. I'm about to finish anyway, so I'll be out of your hair as well. All right. Thank you so much. I think with that, I'm gonna love you. And I hate that phrase. I don't know why I keep saying that phrase. That was unplanned. That was, you know, you've gotten a little bit of life in that, and that's probably taught you more than what I've been doing, because that's the way you approach things. Be nice. Be, you know, confident at the same time. Although I don't think I was particularly confident with that, with the way I said, oh, it's a little indie film. It's like, why am I underselling it? I mean, it's not that she cares what it is, but I'm just, where was I? Yeah, just go out there and do it. Do something now. When you finish this video, make some dog shit in your bedroom or your living room or your garden, and just have a bit of fun with it. Try and make something that's maybe got a bit of a vibe, and just, even if you just use your phone and then you take it into the editing suite and you crank all the colors like to mad like contrast, and so it's really stylized. Just, you know, try something. And in doing, you learn. You don't learn from studying other films, because you weren't on those sets. You don't know what was going through Quentin Tarantino's head when he was doing Pulp Fiction. You can listen to his interviews, but those interviews aren't necessarily what he was thinking there, because there'll be shit that he doesn't want to talk about. There's stuff that I don't talk to you about because it's personal. And there's stuff that Quentin Tarantino also won't, because that's personal to him. And you can't, someone is really, they're putting me off because they're ranting about borderline personality disorder. Shut up. I'm trying to do a video. He's not over there, he's way off in the distance, and you might even be able to hear him. Look, I'm gonna say goodbye for now, because I think you've gotten the general idea. It's better to go and try and fail than it is to not try and live in ignorance over whether that thing might have worked. You know, just do stuff, try it. And if it falls flat on its face, it does. And you've made a load of shite, and that's fine. And then you go and make another load of shite and another load of shite. And with each load of shite you make, you're gonna understand what you're doing more, and you're gonna get an idea, and you're gonna have fun with it. And if you're not, then you'll find another hobby that helps you out. For me, whilst yes, I do make my living off of like events and videography gigs and stuff like that, this filmmaking side of things, where I go and direct things, is a hobby. The way that people might spend money on model trains, I spend money on making films. And I love it. And I'm gonna do it again and again and again until I'm sick of it. So thank you so much for listening to me ramble on, and I will take my leave. I'm gonna pretend to walk off screen, and then I'm gonna come back around and then pick the camera up. There we are. You can still hear me. All right. It's gonna turn off soon. It's gonna turn off. Is the video gonna end now? Not yet. How about now? That was fun. Hey up everybody. My name is Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about success and the image of success, and you know, comparisons to yourself. You know how we all kind of have that thing. I'm sure, at least I do, but I'm sure other people have it as well. You know, say this is my phone, right? And you know, I'm scrolling through my phone, scrolling through Instagram, and I'm lying back. I'm like, oh, my life feels a wreck. I haven't gotten everything done. I feel like such a failure. All that kind of, you know, self-defeating kind of stuff that you know, inevitably ends up happening, even if you try to fight it. Scrolling through your phone, and you're going through and you're seeing other people, you're seeing some influencers and stuff, and they're all going out and they're having a great time. You see like your friends and on Instagram, whatever, and they're having a brilliant time. You see them going on dates, you see them going on holiday, you see the selfies in front of the beautiful fucking rolling hills, and it's like all, you know, inspirational messages on the bottom, and you know, like all that kind of stuff. And this all gets perpetuated and cycled around, regurgitated again and again and again. And it can often feel like a lot of it is phony, a lot of it is not real. And I think the reason for that is because we've turned inspiration and self-improvement into a business model. We've turned it into something that can be profited from. So even these kind of videos, I'm just as guilty of it. You know, I'm giving off some kind of image of success, someone that goes out and is able to just talk about, like, you know, you can do it, blah blah blah, you know, you can be you know, you can do it, you get all that kind of stuff. You know, I do these kind of motivational kind of videos, and you know, they're just the same kind of bollocks that everyone else is kind of saying at the end of the day. So this, you know, motivational, like, feel good kind of stuff has just become a business venture for people. And I kind of wanted to dispel that myth because it's been on my mind for a few days. And I think today it really came to a head because I try and get 2 videos out a day. I haven't backlogged anything or anything like that, which I really maybe should have done because these videos are starting to take quite a while. So I went out today, and I like to go to like a park or like some fun kind of location and just do a bit of a talk. I did one where I was like stood on the edge of a precipice, and I'm just kind of standing there. And I was talking about the idea of burnout, and like, you don't want to fall off. So, and in real life, I didn't want to fall off as well. So it kind of added a bit of conflict. Did a video about, you know, reminiscing about childhood, and I did it in a playground. You know, that kind of thing. And it's nice to get out of this and not have this as my backdrop, because it's not, you know, I don't want to keep filming videos here. It's not particularly interesting. And, you know, I went out today to get some videos, and long and short of it is those videos aren't coming out because they are shit. They were terrible. Didn't know what to say. Felt like I'd exhausted all my words. I felt like I couldn't get a good shot. I felt like everything I did was just failing. And you know what? Cut. That's we're going to cut to some footage from today. I don't think it's usable. I don't think it's any good. If you can see this is, this is the second take of this. This is the first time I had to do a second take because I went out and I failed, and I did a whole video about what to do if you come into failure. And that's what this video is. But if you zoom in on it, right, do you see my face isn't actually in focus? And like, if it was a tiny bit out of focus, I wouldn't really mind, but it's so out of focus that it's really distracting me. And I felt like the shot composition wasn't particularly interesting. And like, this is slightly better. But, and also I wasn't particularly happy with the way that I was wording everything and the way that everything kind of came out. I felt like I was kind of rambling and sort of giving this very mixed message. And I think what's important about this little back and forth between me, the creator, and you, the audience, is you're coming to watch someone that can try and make you feel better. You're watching these as a bit of a feel-good thing, or to get some like insight into, I don't know, my life or my worldview, or not really about mine in itself, but how it can apply to you, which is the same way that I watch plenty of other creators, and they do similar kind of videos where they just talk and they try and figure out their worldview, and I kind of like that kind of thing. And what a lot of these channels don't show, and what a lot of these influencers that you might look at don't show, is when everything fails, when everything falls apart, when you don't have a solid video and you need to scramble to kind of make something as quick as possible. You don't get shown the dark side. Even, you know, in a behind-the-scenes documentary, there might be like the sad part of like, we made this film, then there's a sad part. Play some piano music, dun 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 dun, and it all felt so hard. But then I got back up, oh baby, and everything went brilliantly. Hey, hey, I was trying to do like the little dance from Gil from The Simpsons. I'm sitting down, so it doesn't really work. But you know, you don't get shown that kind of honesty. And I'm not showing you true honesty, because for me, true honesty right now would be, oh God, what am I gonna do? You know, even that wasn't completely fake, but that's what I'm kind of thinking. That's what I was thinking right before I rolled the camera. I was like, I need to get this done, I need to get this video out, I need to get this video out, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. I need to call this person, I need to call this person, I need to go for this call, I need to make sure I get to this thing for 7, I need to make sure that this thing's done, I need to get more of the script done, I need to prepare all the shooting, because we're doing 4 days of shooting next week, and we're, you know, like, there's a lot going on, you know, in terms of preparation and designating each of these things a space in my mind. And it gets to a point where I did this metaphor, and this, you might have seen me put a Fanta can on my head. The reason I put the Fanta can on my head is like, so you got this one thing in your mind, right? And I was talking about the idea of catastrophizing. And I think with this, it's more like you got one thing, and then you got another thing, and then you've got another thing, and then you've got like another thing, and then you've got another thing, and then you've got like one really big thing, and like, you know, I can't even let go because it will all crumble, right? But if I just have the one little thing, it's manageable, you know? So it's about not letting too much get on your head. Don't let too much occupy your mind, and don't stress yourself out. Don't worry so much about things, because when you see these influencers and these creators and these people that give off such an image of success, they're just like you. Even if they're rich, you know, inside the mind, they still work the same way as you. You know, like Jeff Bezos still has to wake up in the morning and go on his phone, and probably ends up scrolling through Instagram and seeing stuff he doesn't want to see. And, you know, like, I don't know, who's another famous one? Bill Gates, you know, he still has to, you know, deal with, like, you know, various failures. They won't be the same kind of failures that you would have. They'd be different kind of failures for sure, and they would certainly come from a more, you know, wealthy point of view, and it would be it's a totally different world, obviously, but failure still comes, flaws still happen. And I think trying to compare yourself to what you see as like people who are doing better than you is just setting yourself up for failure at the end of the day, when all you should really need to worry about is yourself and how well you're doing. And, you know, check in with your friends and stuff. You know, I'm not saying just be a selfish person. I'm saying don't worry so much about the success of others, because if you don't, it's just not necessary. And for the most part, their success is bollocks. It's not true. It's an image. It's a projection of their inner insecurities. You know, you take someone like I don't know, Logan Paul, for instance. He seems like he's got a lot of controversies at the moment, but you would look at him and think that's a successful looking guy who, you know, apart from the fact he's, you know, a bit of I can't say for legal reasons, but he looks like he's got all his ducks in a row, you know, even if I don't like him. But I don't have my ducks in a row, and I like me. What's wrong with me? Why is he doing so well? And it's like, well, he's not doing that well either. You know, he comes in little stresses. He has bad days. He has times where, you know, maybe he does a podcast and the audio came out a bit weird, or like he did a podcast and it just felt like this is a crap podcast. We can't upload this, or, you know, that kind of thing. Or maybe him and Jake Paul did a video and they didn't really work out. It kind of didn't look all that good, or it, you know, maybe the sound wasn't right, or maybe just it was a boring video and people wouldn't have watched it, and the idea was kind of naff to begin with, and I don't know why I even got so into this idea. Oh, well, you know, don't worry about it, we can just do another video. And they can just do another video. And you, whatever failure that you might have just come into recently, think of your most recent failure. Think of the thing that most recently set you back, and how did you deal with it? How did it make an impact on your life? How did it affect your flow and your groove? Because if you lose the groove, then it's much harder to actually gain it again. If you're sort of like this and then you stiff up, it's harder to like kind of get back into it. But as time goes on, you slowly get back into it, and you slowly get back into it, and it works out. So if you can make preventative measures for failure, definitely do. But don't worry so much if failure does come, because failure is inevitable and you can't escape it, but it will come, and it won't be as bad as it looks. It won't be as bad as it seems from afar when you catastrophize about it and you worry about what happens when you fail. The failure will happen, and then the failure will go away, and it will become part of the past, and your future will still be there waiting for you. So I think to kind of wrap all this up, if you're someone that is looking at like people on social media and are worrying about yourself in comparison to them, maybe take some time away from social media. I've uninstalled Instagram. I never was on Twitter really anyway. And the only thing now is bloody YouTube, because you can't uninstall YouTube on your phone. So you go on YouTube and then the shorts end up coming up, so you can't really get rid of them. So that's a bit of a pain in the ass. But I've managed to get rid of everything else. And you know, limit your time online if it's affecting you negatively. Limit these sort of things just so that you can not feel this need to compare, because it's an artificial need. It's not even a need. It's an artificial thing that you end up just doing, because you don't need to see these things. You don't need to see what's, you know, going on the other side of the screen, because at the end, I mean, you're just a number to them. You know, you're not important. You're not anything, and the worry that you have in your mind is relevant to everybody. And it's a bit sad to think about, really, but it is the way that it is. And all we can do is really just try to make the best of it and know that things will be all right, and things aren't as bad as they seem, even if they look pretty grim. I think that's going to be it. I don't think there's anything else I really need to add. Yeah, sorry that this is a bit of a mess of a video. Sorry that you got two videos in the same room today. But, you know, that's what ends up happening when you... I'm trying to make the best of what's happened today, the fact that today's filming was a failure. And this is the path that's going forwards. And tomorrow, hopefully... I'm going out tomorrow. I'm going into London tomorrow. So I'm going to hopefully get some fun videos out of that. I'm going to try and get back for the early evening so I can edit them fast and stuff. I need to get back early anyway because I'm doing the filming on Friday. So... expect two videos from sort of central London area kind of tomorrow. And then, yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for, you know, putting up with the complete rambly nature of these kind of things. And I hope that you can take something away from them that's of any use to you. And I hope that, you know, you go through life, and once you've probably you get bored of me at a certain point. I hope that the general message of just being yourself, not worrying so much, and taking life from a fairly jovial point of view. I hope that these things that can stick with you, because the world is a big scary place, and all you can do is you can carve out your own little nice little oasis in there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You have a great night. Take care. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about inspiration, particularly how do you get inspired when you don't have any new ideas, particularly if you're doing the sort of thing that I do, which is you go out and film as much as possible, you go out and make as much stuff as humanly possible, and so you're constantly drawing from your own well of inspiration. Sometimes you get towards the bottom of that well of inspiration. What do you do? How do you scrape the bottom of the barrel? Because at the bottom of the barrel can be some really nice stuff. Obviously, the phrase scraping the bottom of the barrel kind of gives you the impression of like, oh, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel with that one. Have they not got any new ideas? Well, no, don't, but that can also be useful in its own way. It can also have its own little set of intrigue to it, because when you work within limitations, you tend to come out with some really good stuff. If you set a challenge for yourself and you work within that challenge, you can do a lot better compared to if you had complete creative control to do absolutely anything you want. Because if you have that, that means you kind of just do everything, and it just kind of, you throw the entire kitchen sink at it because you've got the entire kitchen sink. Maybe you don't need the entire kitchen sink. Maybe you just need to turn the hot water on a little bit, okay? You don't need to have a million different ideas to begin creating. Even just like the little ideas that you come up with. Like for instance, a few years ago, me and my mate, we used to film these little short films. We'd go up north and we'd be filming a feature film, but in between we would film these little like quite fun shorts, and we would just do them in a day or a couple hours sort of thing. They never like, took over the entire day. They were never about that kind of thing of like putting loads and loads and loads and loads of time into one particular project. They were more about just exploring the realms of creativity. We did a couple horror ones, we did like a couple sort of pseudo documentary sort of ones, and it was a lot of fun. And I remember one in particular. It's called 1111. I'll try and remember to put a link to it in the description below. Basically, we didn't have any ideas on what we were going to do, so we were sat in the car and we were trying to sort of spitball ideas back and forth to one another. And this was sort of, I want to say this was like October 2021, something like that. This was right at the beginning, the genesis of ChatGPT and just like AI in general. And so what we did, we went on and Googled AI movie ideas, and we just let it generate a few movie ideas, and it generated a load of them. We kind of looked through them, we're like, no, 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 no. And then we kind of saw one that was, it was about a vortex, and we kind of thought, oh, vortexes are kind of interesting. And we had a bit of a conversation about, the nature of the singularity, and like, I talked to him about black holes and how if you go into a black hole, you get the spaghettification sort of effect that comes over you. And then from there, you kind of get sucked into the singularity, and we don't necessarily know what the singularity was. And so right there is a little bit of horror in the unknown. So we kind of made this little short film where the main character is kind of just wandering around a graveyard, and he picks up this object that was it was a prop that my friend had for a while and he'd been wanting to use in a film for a while. And so we worked out a way that had some kind of horror kind of elements to it. We weren't trying to set out to make the world's greatest horror film by any stretch of the imagination. We were just enjoying ourselves making stuff. And that's I think the way that you should create. You should just create first, ask questions later, because you don't necessarily need all the ideas in the world. That actually was one of my favorite of the films that we did, and it was the one that we did when we had absolutely no idea. I remember we did another horror film where there was loads of ideas that kind of went into it, and that one is certainly good as well, but I kind of prefer the one that we did where we didn't have any ideas and we were working with just creating stuff on the fly, off the cusp. Just literally, we were sat there on the internet just Googling various ideas, trying to figure out something that worked. And when we found something that worked, we just did it. And you might say that that's just sort of a lack of creativity or a lack of inspiration, but I don't necessarily think that you need those things in order to create good works of art. I mean, look at something like Friends, for instance, the sitcom Friends. There's loads of episodes of that where you imagine the writer's room wasn't particularly inspired. You're on series 9 of a daytime TV show. primetime TV show, you're gonna run out of ideas. You've already done Ross and Rachel. You've already had all the characters hook up in every sort of combination you can think of. You brought in new characters, brought in guest stars. You've done every plot that you kind of thought up when you came up with the idea of Friends. It's all been done. So what do you do next? Well, you just start thinking of stuff and you just start trying to come up with something, anything that could work. And that's when you come up with some of your best ideas. And there's some really good episodes in Series 9 and Series 10 of Friends. There's some really good episodes of The Simpsons in like Series 10, 20, 30. There's good episodes in Series 36 of The Simpsons. Do you think they were as inspired in Series 36 as they were in Series 1? No, of course they weren't. But at the same time, you don't need the inspiration to get stuff done. If you kind of brute force your way through that writer's block, you will come out as something that you will end up looking back on. You won't be able to tell the difference between the stuff you were inspired to create and the stuff that you weren't inspired to create. You just create and you just make stuff. And then you ask questions after the fact. You think, where did this go wrong? What did we do here that was obviously working? Let's try and do that again. You have various things like that. So in terms of creating stuff when you don't have any ideas, I think the best thing to do is to first ask around, see what's going on, try and take in new information, see what you can do with said information, and then try and apply it to your own self and your own creative vision and that kind of thing. Because I'm presuming by this point you have found your own voice and that sort of thing. You know generally what you want to say, what your overall message with regards to your creative works is, and your overall worldview, that kind of thing. If you haven't figured that sort of thing out, there's other videos out there on the internet. If you just Google like finding your voice or something, you'll find loads of videos of people trying to help you find your own voice. But once you have found your own voice, it's very easy to just bring on new ideas and just try and think of stuff. Like right now, I don't really have many great ideas, but why should that stop me from creating necessarily? Because scraping the bottom of the barrel can be quite fun. You know, like I like the butt end of bread, the loaf of bread. I like the butt end. I like, or for instance, I don't know. You get to the bottom of a can of Coke, and you've got that little like sort of thing there, and you kind of get a couple sips out of it, and it's really nice. You know, that little final part. Like, I mean, the way that I can't remember what it is. Is it Guinness? Is made by just scraping the bottom of oil barrels or something like that, or beer is made like that. I can't quite remember how it works, but the bottom of that barrel creates some good stuff. And that's generally what I want to convey with this video, is that don't necessarily worry that you've run out of ideas, because even if you have run out of ideas, which you haven't, by the way, you're just not feeling particularly great today, that doesn't mean that you can't create something, anything, and then look back on it and go, bloody hell, I'm glad I did that. You'll never regret making something. You'll never regret creating a piece of work. You'll never regret trying stuff. So why should you not? Why should you get yourself down over that and sort of think, well, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to create, I have no voice? Because that's just not true. You just don't know what it is yet. And once you make it, you'll look back and you'll feel like, oh wow, that was a lot more cohesive than I actually originally intended. Not bad, decent going there. So go out there, create stuff. Just make sure that you're putting your all into it, even if you don't have any ideas left necessarily. Because a lot of making film, a lot of making music, a lot of books, it's not necessarily just the creative process, it's the actual, you need to do the work of making the thing. If you want to write a book, you need to type. If you want to make a film, you need to get out into locations, find the crew, find the equipment, film them doing the stuff. If you want to make music, you need to, go into the MIDI and find all the drum loops and then go through and do that, or you need to figure out recording setup, or you need to write the songs. And you necessarily always need to have everything worked out, because if you did, what would the journey of making stuff be? It would just be, imagine Orson Welles making Citizen Kane, right? Does he just sort of have the idea, right, I'm going to make Citizen Kane, and then he just went out and made it? No, there were probably loads of times when he was making Citizen Kane where he felt uninspired, or like he wasn't making anything worthwhile, or like he didn't have any good ideas left. Or maybe after he made Citizen Kane, he was like, oh God, what am I going to do next? And then the film he made after that was, I can't remember what the film he did after that. I think it was one where the studio interfered a lot, and it was a film that had the potential to be as good as Citizen Kane, but it wasn't because of the studio interference, something like that. I can't quite remember. But I'm sure when he was making that film, he felt like, oh God, I've made the best thing I've ever made. I can't make anything as good as that. I've not got any real good ideas left. You don't need to make the best thing. be your newest thing. Like you don't need to top yourself every single time. And not everything needs to be your greatest work of art. Sometimes it's fine to just make stuff for the sake of making stuff. Sometimes it's good to just keep the practice going. And why not, you know? Why not make stuff? It's fun, it's nice, it's satisfying, and it's entertaining, not just to watch and from the audience's point of view, but to make from the creator's point of view. So why should you let something as stupid as not having enough good ideas let you get in the way of making things? Because you'll come up with something. I'm sure you'll come up with something. Even if it's not your most inspired work, why should that let it get in the way? So that's essentially my message, is even if you're looking at yourself right now feeling like you're not inspired, maybe you're feeling a bit down, maybe you're a bit depressed or whatever, or maybe you're a bit anxious of like, well, how are people going to respond to my thing? Is it like, because it's not good enough, etc., etc. Don't let any of that stuff get in the way. Even if you're going to set out and make a load of crap, obviously you didn't set up to make a load of crap, but you ended up making a load of crap. Why is that a problem? I don't necessarily have the answer to that, because I don't think it is a problem. Frankly, I just don't. I don't really see why anything like that should be something that lets you get in should get in your way. Nothing like that should get in your way ever, because you're fucking brilliant. You can get out there and you're way more powerful than you could possibly imagine. So just get out there, create the stuff, and then ask questions later and just see where it takes you. See where the inspiration of the desperation from a lack of inspiration will take you. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the day. And leave your comments below, because I bet there's been something that you've made where you made it out of desperation, or maybe to fill a quota, maybe if you're like a YouTuber and you need to get a video out for that week or whatever. But you know, you knew it wasn't going to be your best video, but why should that let it stop you? Because what might be considered your worst video to you might be your best video to someone else. And that's fine, that's cool, because it's all subjective really at the end of the day. So yeah, take care everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good rest of the day. Oh, this thing that I'm sitting on, it's at a real angle. Hurts a little bit actually. Hello everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I would like to talk to you about artificial intelligence, or AI as it's often known as now. I mean, I suppose that's what it is. That's what AI stands for, artificial intelligence. So anyway, it's been something that for the past few years has slowly crept its way into the mainstream, from becoming this kind of sci-fi kind of concept. In the future, at some point, AI will take over, to we're now in the point where AI is in the process of taking over. You can only look at the writers' strikes from last year to get an idea of what was going on within Hollywood regarding its response to AI, and the fundamental rejection of AI by the writers of Hollywood, and fairly rightly so in my opinion. In 2021, I and a good friend of mine who's going to be part of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, we made a film called Connie Lynn, and it was made with a proto version of ChatGPT. So at the time it was just called GPT-3, and this was way before ChatGPT and way before the current idea of people using AI being associated with sort of right-wing, crypto bro kind of grifter types. You know, now there's that association with that type of person and that type of content. AI is seen as this utter slop that is just slapped together. You know, you've got people that make entire channels just with AI voices, with AI scripts, about stuff that the person creating the video has absolutely no interest in and no passion for whatsoever. They're just chasing trends and just chasing whatever they think will get them some views. And when me and my friend Lee, we made Connie Lynn, there wasn't any of that going on with AI. And when we were making Connie Lynn, AI was kind of a fun, novel sort of thing. And the idea of making a feature film, a live action feature film using AI, was something that was kind of novel. And we wanted to really do something with that. And whenever we would pitch the idea to people, like we go to film festivals and stuff, and we would pitch the idea to people, we would always get like, oh, wow, that sounds really interesting. Oh my God, that sounds so interesting. And I'm sure that if we were to pitch that idea now, a film made entirely with AI, you get an awful lot of, oh yeah. Okay, I need to go talk to him over there. I'll be, yeah. And they try and duck out the conversation. And fairly so, in my opinion. Because my opinion on AI has changed an awful lot since 2021. At the time, I was very much of the opinion that AI was going to be this semi-good thing. It was obviously going to be, I had this feeling that it was going to be bad for humanity in the long run, but in the short term, it could at least be good for small-time creators and that kind of thing, to help them establish their vision in ways that they wouldn't have been able to do before. It was a new tool alongside, the digital camera or non-linear editors, for instance. These were things that democratized the filmmaking process and allowed people to make films that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to make. You saw a huge rise in films throughout the 90s that made use of really small budgets. You got stuff like Clerks, you got stuff like The Following, you've got stuff like I've forgotten the name of it. What's the guy who was in Spy Kids? He did the film where the guy's running around for $7,000. Probably, I don't know, no, they've got pesos in Mexico, haven't they? But it was the equivalent of $7,000 at the time. And now, you wouldn't need even $7,000 to make a film like that. You could make a film like that for maybe $500 or $1,000 now. And I think that something really good about that was that it simply made the process of making stuff, your own content, easier. However, with AI, my overly good nature maybe got in the way of my foresight, because very quickly after that film came out, and with the advent of ChatGPT and quite convincing AI voices, I mean, convincing in the sense that if you were just like blindly listening and not really paying attention, you could vaguely, oh yeah, that's AI, yeah, that kind of thing. It wouldn't be an immediate kind of thing compared to like the Microsoft text-to-speech of 10 years ago. And I do worry about AI quite a lot, and I was worried about AI at the time, and it felt like people weren't treating the threat of AI seriously. For instance, now one of the biggest complaints about AI and surrounding AI is the copyright infringement. Since a lot of these AI models are based off of feeding as much media and websites and films and music and so on into it, so that it can learn and understand from a wide variety of sources, so that it can then regurgitate things in different contexts. I mean, you've seen stuff like DALL-E 2 and DALL-E 3, which infamously had Stutter Shock logos, half baked into some of their images, because they were just taking copyrighted images with the watermark still on them and just regurgitating them. And I still don't think that that's the biggest problem with AI. I think the biggest problem with AI is humanity's short-sighted nature. We're a species that don't tend to look beyond the next 10, 20 years. The idea of the year 2050 is this long distant thing. The same way that the year 2025 was long distant to people coming into the millennium. And now the year 2025 is coming in a couple months, and the future is now. And 2000 at one point was the future compared to people in like 1980. And now 1984 was originally a science fiction dystopia, and now it's set 40 years in the past. So you've got this continual passage of time that is just going to march on no matter what. And we need to really adjust our thinking to the long term, because the advent of AI has fundamentally changed the nature of creativity permanently, and it's never going to go back to the way it was. And we need to really figure out our shit now, right now, because if we don't, we're going to end up losing a lot of the heart and soul that goes into a lot of media. For instance, Have any of you ever been emotionally moved by a piece of AI-driven content? I imagine not. I imagine you haven't. And I imagine that when you've seen things that are AI generated, you feel, similarly to me, this kind of empty feeling, like you're not watching something real, almost like you're watching an advert for Sainsbury's or something like that, where it's not this thing that's designed to make you feel. It's designed to keep your eyeballs glued. You've got an awful lot of channels now which are just AI pumping videos out, 5-6 times a day. And I know I make 2 or 3 videos a day, but at least it's me. This is all me. The camera is here. I'm out in the park. This is a real thing. I mean, look. That's a real microphone. This is a real face. There's a real stuff that's going on, as far as you know. And I think that 10 years from now, a video like this might not be even possible, because you could make it and people will immediately suspect. And that suspicion is what's going to drive so much negativity going forwards. We're going to see an awful lot of true artistic ventures dismissed utterly because people assume that they're made by an artificial intelligence, that it wasn't a real human creating things. And it's a bit sad, because AI does have some legitimate good uses and things that I think can be really fun. Like there's this video thing, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a music video from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the song Iron Lung. And it's a really fun music video, because it's the AI going completely balls to the wall and just doing whatever the hell it feels like. And it was guided by a human quite in depth. And you can kind of tell that it was very specifically crafted. It wasn't just like they let the thing run for 9 minutes. It was really deliberately put together. And stuff like that is going to get overtaken by things that are just corporately driven or profit driven. Maybe not by corporations, but by people that are just trying to make a living off of content rather than true expressions of themselves through any kind of artistic vision. And I don't think that we're going to see an improvement in this regard. I don't think that we're going to see AI becoming this thing where it becomes more artistic. We're going to start seeing more slop. We're going to start seeing more things that get put into our eyeballs where we're having to judge. Is that AI? And we're going to have to be thinking that all the time in the future. Is that AI? Is that not AI? Is that, what's that? Is that something that's going to be, yeah, that doesn't feel real. And it might become a case where someone who doesn't have the greatest artistic vision, where their film or their song or their book might be a bit all over the place. It might feel a bit generic. They might have been drawing from, your basic kind of contemporaries, rather than trying to do something truly unique. And that is totally fine to do. However, going forwards, we're going to start seeing a suspicion that these people are using AI, and I think there's going to be an immediate dismissal, a rightly so dismissal. However, it is going to cause a lot of problems for small creators. And I thought it wasn't going to cause problems for small creators. I thought it was going to be similar to the advent of the internet and streaming platforms like YouTube and Amazon Prime, where they were able to democratize the filmmaking process. And they really did. I mean, if you look at the sort of films that I've been making, I couldn't have made these films 30 years ago, not just because I wasn't born 30 years ago, but if I was this age 30 years ago, I couldn't go out and make a film like Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I couldn't just grab a camera and make something that feels semi-professional, with audio that sounds this clear, that with visuals that look HD. I mean, HD didn't even really exist back then. So you didn't have the ease of access to creativity like you do now. I mean, if you wanted to make music, you would have gotten your 4-track tape recorder, and you would have put together some demos, and then you would have taken those demos to a studio, and you would have worked on them, and you'd have refined them. And it felt like it was something of a privilege to be creating in that regard, in a way that other people could actually see it, and not just something to show to your friends, and people would go, oh yeah, well done, yeah, great, that's really nice. They could sound more genuine than that, by the way. I'm not trying to say that no one cared. But with AI going forwards, it's going to, if anything, democratize film so much, it's going to make things so easy to create that there's not really going to be a point in creating. Where does the artistic license end for humanity? When does our ability to tell interesting and unique stories get overtaken by a machine that doesn't really feel and think and have experiences the way that humans do? And who's to say that that is a terrible thing? What happens if films get better as a result of AI? What happens if in 40 years we get one of the greatest films that's ever been made, time and time and time again, and better than, you know, Citizen Kane, better than Casablanca, better than all the classics, and it was all made by a computer? Some people would argue, fairly so, that a film created without the human element is inherently non-artistic. I disagree with the idea that art is inherently human. I think that it doesn't need to capture the human experience in order to be evocative towards humanity. I think the idea that art is a uniquely human expression is a bit short-sighted, not just because of AI coming in the future, when it might start to be able to create serious expressions of art, but let's take a hypothetical, right? Let's say, for the sake of argument, the aliens come down to Earth and they're fairly friendly and they're all very, very creative, and they make films, they make music, they make types of art that we can't even conceptualize, but they sit down, they show it to us, and our minds are just blown. Wow, what an incredible piece of art that was. I can't believe I got to see that. My life has felt irreversibly changed as a result of watching this thing. The same way it might, the inspiration that you might take from watching your favorite ever film for the first time, or you know, listening to an album that completely changed your life. It might be like that, but times 1,000, because we don't have any point of comparison yet. And the only point of comparison we have now, and it's a very recent point of comparison, is AI and the things that AI can make, which tend to be of not brilliant quality. I'm not out here to try and say that our film Connie Lynn is any kind of artistic masterpiece. It was more of an experiment into the idea of using new technology and to see what could be done in the future. It was very much a prototype, and if anything, I feel like it could be a part of history in a bit of a self-indulgent sort of way. It will be a part of history that Connie Lynn is one of, if not the first, live-action AI-driven piece of art. There were other things that were AI-driven beforehand, but it was kind of terrible on purpose, and it was the kind of thing you would see a video essayist on YouTube kind of go, "Ooh, wow, this film was made entirely with AI. Look at how bad it was. Look at how bad the mouth movements are. Oh, it's not even synced with the audio, and the audio sounds totally fake as well." You're going to end up seeing AI improve exponentially. Look at Siri 10 years ago, and then compare it to ChatGPT now. Because when people like to say that AI is terrible and it's unconvincing, and you might see a bit of AI struggle to conceptualize something quite basic, and you kind of jeer at it and go, "Ha ha, look, you know, I don't think I'm worried about AI taking over anytime soon." I think that's a bit short-sighted, because we were making the same jokes about Siri not being able to understand basic English 10 years ago, and now look at what ChatGPT can do compared to Siri. It's like the Super Nintendo compared to the PlayStation 4 in terms of the sheer amount of evolution that has happened, because it is exponential what's going on here, and it's only going to get faster, it's only going to get better, and the technology is only going to improve. ChatGPT 4 is so much better than ChatGPT 3, and when ChatGPT first was able to do maths, my mind was like, oh fuck, okay, it can do maths now. I do use ChatGPT, however, I make a specific point to never ever allow it to take any kind of place in the artistic process outside of it being a voice to feed ideas to, and so it can give feedback on my ideas. So if I write a song and I write the lyrics for it, and I sort of think, oh, these lyrics feel a bit pretentious, I'll copy paste the lyrics into ChatGPT and I'll be like, these lyrics feel a bit pretentious to me. Can you do an in-depth critique of everything and analyze the themes alongside the greater context of the album that I've also told you about? Because it now has a memory, it can remember certain things that you've talked to it about before. And it will come out with something pretty interesting. It will give me the sort of ideas that, like, okay, that line doesn't really work. Yeah, I get, but it's not that it tells me that's bad, so I go, okay, that's bad. It's that it goes, that is bad. And I kind of go, yeah, I kind of see what you mean. Yeah, I do kind of see what you mean. However, your idea for it, I'm not going to use. And if I am going to use it, I'm going to completely change the way that it works, because the AI can't actually conceptualize my artistic vision. All it can do is put one word after the other, because it's a language-based, it's a language model, ChatGPT is. It's a language model where the whole point of it is it just puts one word after the other in a way that it thinks is coherent. It has no ideas truly of human conversation and structure towards a sentence or a paragraph. It has basic ideas of grammar and stuff like that, and it can string words and sentences together in a way that feels convincing. However, it will tell you utter bullshit with the most sincerest of hearts, and then you'll point out the blatant flaws, and it will go, oh yes, my bad, my apologies, yeah, no, you're actually completely right, yeah, it is like this, and then it will just start putting in what you said was the actual correct answer. Like if you put into ChatGPT, say, I haven't tested this, but if you put in, this film is really good because the characters are really well developed. It will go, yes, the characters are really well developed, and then it will go, this character has this quality that means it's well developed, and this character has this quality that means it's well developed, and this character does this which changes across the course of the film, which makes it quite developed. And you'll go, hang on, that character didn't change, what are you talking about? That character was introduced at the end of the film. And it'll go, oh yes, you're completely right, my apologies, actually it's like this, the way that you said it. And then you can just make up something completely different, and it will just go along with it. And that's what it does. It's not something that's completely advanced now. However, that's not to say that it won't advance. I see AI less like a tool, less like the advent of the internet, and less like the advent of smartphones or YouTube or digital cameras. And I see it more like nuclear weapons. I feel like as nuclear weapons came out, they weren't something that could completely end the world. Like, if we had 1,000 Hiroshimas and Nagasaki's, it would be a devastating travesty, obviously. However, it wouldn't have caused the nuclear winters and the absolute apocalypse that came with the advent of the hydrogen bomb and stuff like Tsar Bomba and other massive atomic bombs like that have yields of like billions of tons of TNT in a single missile. AI, as it gets better and more intelligent, is going to be able to be used for evil. And at the moment it's being used by quite scuzzy grifters to try and make themselves a quick bit of cash. There's a certain point in time when it's going to start being used by terrorists. The classic example, I don't know much about this, I've read it before, is that you can make diseases, you can code a disease, and you could get not ChatGPT, but you could get an artificial intelligence model to create a artificial disease that you could then put together in a laboratory and then spread out to the world. And you could put in all the worst genetic sort of things to make sure that it spreads as fast as possible and does as much damage in the way that maybe it doesn't cause damage straight away, but it allows it to spread first. It would be like, if you ever play Plague Inc., imagine you had like unlimited points in Plague Inc. That's what AI is going to be able to do potentially. And I really hope that it doesn't come to that. I hope that, I hope that regulation comes like very, very, very soon, but part of me feels like it might already be too late. I don't like AI, I despise it. However, that's not to say that the few positives that it can have should be completely neglected. I feel like ChatGPT can be quite useful. I like to sometimes put old journal entries in it and ask it about what my thought process might have been at the time, or like, do you think that I did the right thing in this situation? Or I might put a script into it and go like, what do you think about these characters and going into this circumstance? Or I might put a song into it and go, what do you think of this? Or I might get it to generate a piece of imagery just as an idea, as a blueprint that I can then develop the idea on my own and then do my idea properly. So I can give it the prompt, I want it to make a album cover of a butterfly in a museum exhibit surrounded by people dressed in 1950s, 60s kind of outfits. kind of an Americana style thing, and it will pump that out. And obviously I would feel very immoral actually using that piece of artwork, although I wouldn't use artwork in quotes. I would say it does technically count as art. However, I don't think that this art is intrinsically moral. I think it's intrinsically immoral, but not necessarily because of the copyright infringement, although that is certainly a part of it, but that's a minor part to me. The major part of me is that as the AI develops, we are creating an existential threat for humanity. And I feel like we're not taking that seriously because, as I said earlier, humanity is an extremely short-sighted species. We don't look far into the future. We're not thinking about the year 2050 as anything other than a figment of our imaginations where we'll have fixed everything by then. Let alone the year 2100. I might be alive in the year 2100. I might not be. If I live to the age of 102, I might be alive. However, that just seems so far in the future to me. And, 1950 is further away than the year 2100. Yeah, it is. No, it's slightly, it's about that, okay? And 1950 doesn't feel like a totally different time. It feels certainly like a different time. It certainly feels like it's a bit alien to me, and I'm sure if I was suddenly plonked into this exact spot in 1950, I would be quite confused, and I would probably commit a fair few social faux pas. I would speak weird, and people would point that out, and my moral system that I use in the 21st century wouldn't be applicable in the 1950s, the same way that my moral system in the 2020s won't apply to someone living in the 2110s, for instance. However, the 2110s isn't that far away. It's not that far. It's obviously not the immediate future. However, just because it's not going to happen within the next election cycle or whatever, doesn't mean it's never going to happen, and it's just something that shouldn't be worth thinking about. It's something that annoys me with the discourse around climate change, and particularly the continual reliance on oil. Not that I'm supporting groups like Just Stop Oil. I'm going to stay neutral on that. But oil is predicted to run out in the year 2050, right? What are we going to do then? Because 2060 isn't that far away. It's 36 years away. Someone that's born now will only be 36 years old, and we don't think of someone being 36 years old as being like an old person. We see them as being a fairly youngish person. Not like, an absolute young'un, but certainly someone that hasn't yet reached middle age, someone that isn't particularly old. And we're going to reach a point in the future where we're going to be faced with these existential threats, and we should deal with them now rather than sit on them and procrastinate and allow them to unravel and overtake our humanity and our art. So I think that's going to be everything. If you want to check out Connie Lynn, it's going to be in the description. It's on Amazon Prime. I think you've got to buy it. So sorry about that. But it's not going towards AI, and we're not using AI anymore. It's not a part of my workflow in terms of actually using it for any artistic vision the way that I was using it for that. Because with that, I fed the script into it, we got it to make a new script, and then we put the film out. We filmed the film according to the AI, and we let the AI be the guiding voice, because at the time that was a novel thing, and it's not a novel thing anymore. It's not cool and hip and new. Now it's quite scary, It'd be like us making a pro-smoking film in 1960. It's still just about, but if we'd made that in 1975, people would sort of go, oh, it's a bit odd making a pro-smoking film. It's a strange analogy, I know, but whatever. If you want to check it out, then please do. Your support means the world to me and to all of my fellow collaborators and my friends, and what I would consider my family in a way. And going forwards, my approach to AI is this. I use it merely as like a personal assistant, and I think if it starts to get And when it inevitably starts to get worse, I think I'm going to become more Luddite with my approach regarding AI technology. And I'm going to become more unnerved by it, because I'm already pretty unnerved. In fact, I actually made a video on this exact topic about 5 years ago, before the advent of ChatGPT, and even when GPT-3 and the idea of OpenAI was barely even a thing. I actually came up with this idea about 10 years ago, when AI was Siri and what's the Windows thing? I don't even know. Cortana, that's it. You know, when those were the cutting edge, I realized that going forwards, the AI is going to get better exponentially, and as it does, it's going to overtake human creativity at some point. And all we can do is we can continue to support each other as fellow humans. And there's going to become a point when something being made by humans is going to be almost a selling point. It's going to be, oh wow, this film feels very true to life and very human. And the phrase, it's a very human feeling film. I've been using the phrase naturalistic and humanistic for my film, Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, which to me at the present means it feels like a real conversation between humans, the way that I have them in real life, the way that I talk with my friends and my family and my fellow peers. However, I feel like in 40 years, the term humanistic film will just mean a film that is made by humans. And that unnerves me. However, we can't sit in the dark and act like the future isn't going to happen, because it is. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't have the answers. All I can do is try and raise awareness for this cause that, you know, there's already quite a lot of awareness around it already. However, I wanted to add to the discourse, essentially. I don't have anything particularly fresh or new to add to it, but I just wanted to add to it in my own way and give you some of my experiences, because AI can be quite useful. It can help democratize film. However, I think that we're playing with fire. I really, really do. And if you do see a film that is using AI for some interesting artistic purpose, then do check it out, do recommend it to us in the comments, and let's get some discourse going around the topic of AI, because I don't quite know what to make of it, and I feel like I've gone around the same few ideas now for what feels like a long time. So I'm gonna call it quits for here. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Joshua Morrison. Watch Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence when it comes out, made completely by humans. There's a lot of people walking back and forth, but I feel like that kind of adds to it. I love this this little thing. You can do a bit of this. It's sweet, isn't it? It's brilliant, isn't it? I like coming here sometimes and sitting and watching the sunset. Sunset sets in that direction. Sets over there. Here's a shot of it, actually. It's cool, isn't it? Da-da-down, da-da-down, out. Ooh, my arse is wet. Hey up, everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about making 2 videos a day. Why am I making 2 videos a day, and what kind of challenges kind of come with that, and why, as a creator, you should have some kind of backlog, because these things aren't just paintings, they aren't just works of art, they are products at the end of the day. And you want to be able to treat whatever it is you're doing a little bit as a brand, okay? Because you do have a personal brand. Now, obviously, it can be whatever you want that to be, because you have total creative freedom across your personal brand, which I really don't like that term. I actually did a video about that. But it is something that you will have to do. So when you want to make stuff, say you want to do YouTube, for instance, you're going to need like a thumbnail style, you're going to need like, you know, a consistent topic, you're going to need general, you know, things that you are doing for these videos, you're going to need, you know, a header for your channel page, an icon, that kind of thing. You're going to need an idea of what the videos themselves are going to be, how you're going to film them. Are you going to do voiceover? Are you going to film them like this? Are you going to have B-roll? Are you going to use stock footage? Are you going to animate them? Who knows? And what are they going to be on? They could be on anything you want, in any style you want, as comedic or as somber as you want. Absolutely everything is in your control and in your hands. But at the same time, do know that you are, if you want like an audience and stuff, that you are making a product at the end of the day, and that you do owe it to your audience to try and get out as good quality content as possible, because that's what this is at the end of the day. It is content, which is a word that I will make a video about someday. So say you want to make videos, right? What I found works is making a lot of them. I don't know why. I don't know why that works. I personally would never subscribe to a channel that uploaded 2 videos a day, but for some reason it works. I wouldn't subscribe to a channel that uploaded this regularly because it would overwhelm my feed. But apparently not everyone thinks like me. And that's an important lesson, is that not everyone thinks like you do, and people think differently. And that's cool. And just try and adjust things to them. You know, I don't particularly like the pretentious-y sort of titles. I did one on childhood and it was called some bullshit like, it's never coming back, but the memories will last forever, which actually I did right over here. I did it literally, if I turn it around, I did it on that little thing there. So yeah, you've kind of got this end goal. Sorry about the hole in my trousers. Yeah, that was a pain in the ass as well. So yeah, in terms of doing 2 videos a day, it can be a challenge to try and fit my entire life around that, particularly making the film as well. So this channel has actually become #1 priority for me at the moment. But that's not to say that it will remain that forever. As I get more comfortable doing these, they can just become the easy thing that I knock out quickly. And I'm gonna move a bit further away so it's not echoing. And yeah, as time goes on, I want to build a backlog. And I believe having a backlog is incredibly important because it allows you to grow and develop. So what I think you should do is get like maybe a 2-week backlog. So that way you can work through your backlog and work through your backlog maybe in 3 weeks. And then once your backlog's gone, you build a new backlog. You need to be able to make a new backlog every time, otherwise this is not a sustainable thing. Because you don't want your backlog to last too long. You don't want to have a backlog that lasts like 3 years, because then you're uploading 3-year-old content, which is going to be completely outdated by the time you actually make it, which means by its nature it's not going to get the same watch hours or clicks as your stuff that you make at that moment 3 years on. So in terms of having a backlog, it is very important to just make as much stuff as you can and see what happens, because not everything's going to be fucking great. Not every video is going to be perfect. I've got videos on this channel now that I think are better than others, and I've got some that I think are the best ones, and I've got some that I think are the worst ones, and not everyone will agree with my assessment of it. Some people probably think other videos are the best ones, and they might see the one that I think is the best and go, oh, that one was kind of crap actually. So it's all down to the subjectivity of the audience, because we live in a world of the deaf of the artist. So what I make of it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as I do make it in general. So yeah, that's kind of it, to be honest. In terms of making these videos, I'm trying to generally make a lot of them because people watch them, and I like making them. I like rambling to the camera, and if people like listening to that, then we've got a little connection point there. That's us Ouroboros. It's self-feeding. So it works out in its favour, and I am just talking pure shit in this video. I do recognise that, but you know what? Does it matter? It's just the internet. It's just YouTube. It's not like this is going to the Cannes Film Festival or something. It's not a big deal, and that's kind of what I wanted to preach with this. Is the stuff you make doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to worry and perfect it and make sure everything's perfect, because if you do that, all your content is the same thing anyway. It's all video, or it's all like pictures and stuff. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's all video, it's all pictures, and it's all audio. All that matters is how much effort you want to put into it. Do you want to spend 5 years working on a minute-long video? Do you want to spend 5 minutes working on an hour-long video? What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? That's kind of important, But at the same time, people will sit and watch like a live stream for like 8 hours a day, and that takes 8 hours to make. But they might not sit down and watch your half-hour passion project that took you 3 years to make. So It's priorities at the end of the day. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And how creatively fulfilled can you potentially be, really? So, yeah, sorry about the rambly one. Doesn't make much sense, I know, but fuck it. I hope you got something out of it. All right. I'm gonna try and get. I'm not gonna. I was gonna try and climb back up there, but that is not happening. See you later. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the quality of video, film, music, etc. and compare that to the effort that actually goes into these things. And is it necessarily that effort correlates to quality? Now, if you've seen any of these videos before, you'll know that the answer to that is no, at least in my opinion, it's no. But I recently just got a comment. I was actually filming my last video and I came over here, and as I was walking to the next location trying to find another shot, I was sort of scrolling through my phone and I got a notification, and I can read you the exact comment actually. It said something along the lines of, we don't need more crap, we need more beautifully crafted pieces of art. It was something like that. Here it is. We don't need more shite, we need more beautifully carved out, meaningful treasure. Okay, there's a response to that. This isn't about putting out albums for others, it's making albums for practice so you build up the skills to make an incredible one. So that guy that responds to it, yeah, that is certainly one aspect to it, but taking that aside, taking aside the idea of making things and creating art for the sake of practice, because the idea of that would be to eventually create something that's good anyway. The goal of making a load of shite is to make all your shite so that you can make something good, either amidst the shite or having made the shite and then going and looking back at it and seeing what you did wrong and how you can improve on it. Taking that all aside and just making shite for the sake of making shite, I think has a charm all of its own, has a beauty to itself. Because why does it need to be good necessarily? Look at, say, The Room, for instance, from Tommy Wiseau. That's not a good film. That's a terrible film, but people love it. And I think, obviously they like it ironically at first, but I think as time goes on, you start to appreciate it just on its own little qualities. Like, I don't like the film. I've never been a guy that's particularly into The Room, but a film that I do like is Love on a Leash. I just think it's so much fun. And it almost, because what's weird about it is a terrible film, but it's terrible in a fun way. And that on its own can be really engaging in and of itself. So I think the single definition of quality that we can't necessarily materialize and can't actualize, we can't say for sure what makes a film high quality. We could certainly look at, you know, is it filmed on certain cameras? Does it have professional lighting and sound? Is the acting convincing? Are the locations varied and interesting and well put together? Is the directing style not even necessarily unique, but just well put together and fitting for the themes of the film? And that is the film well written in that, are the themes interesting, not overly explored, but or if they have been, maybe explored in an interesting way, or maybe it's just really well executed. A simple idea, but done really well. You know, there's so many ways to define what a good movie is, but I don't think there's nearly as many definitions of what makes a bad film. Not even close. I think what makes a bad film is quite simple. It's just a lack of quality. The same way that, I don't know, you go to hell because you have a lack of belief in God. And like the idea of sinning is a lack of God. I think this is like a lack of quality is what makes something bad. So I wouldn't say that The Room is a bad film because it has qualities about it that are entertaining and engaging. And, you know, I mean, any film that has as many quotes to it as that film, I don't think can be bad. Even if it's filmed like absolute shite, even if it looks terrible, even if the acting in itself is what would be generally considered to be quite low quality, I don't think you can necessarily say the film itself is low quality because it's managed to resonate really well with a lot of people. But then, is that what makes something good? Because by that logic, the fact that The Room resonated with people, but I don't know, some random Yugoslavian art house drama made by some nobody that is maybe not objectively better, but would be considered far superior in terms of a piece of art, and as far as quality is concerned, that would mean that The Room is the better thing because it's helped more people and engaged more people and done more things. That would mean that Taylor Swift is the best, musician that ever lived. But I don't necessarily think that that is the case. I don't think that, what counts as necessary quality can be defined in any strict way. I think what makes quality is just whatever people find in it. Look at all the crazy YouTubers that come out of the woodwork on this platform that make such really strange and personal and interesting kind of things that are like nothing else you've ever seen. And yet you really, really enjoy it because it feels genuine, it feels sort of true to maybe life, or maybe it's relatable, or maybe it's funny but in a new way that you're not necessarily used to, or maybe it's just a look into a culture that you're not particularly familiar with. Stuff like that. I mean, I remember I watched a film from Papua New Guinea, and it was really funny because the way that they talked in the film, they all talked really, really somberly about the craziest things. And then it turned into a bit of the Christians come and save everyone kind of thing towards the end, so I got a bit sick of it. But it was really fun while I was enjoying it, and then I kind of stopped enjoying it. But it was just really great to see another culture that is so far removed from suburban London that I just really got something out of it. It's the same way that I really love Who Killed Captain Alex from Uganda. It's the same, there's an Iraqi film or a Syrian film that I can't remember the name of it. It was set in the post-apocalypse. Really amazing. It wasn't like low budget either. It looked really professional. It looked really, really good. It looked like the sort of thing that might have had a budget of like $30 million if it was made in America, but I don't think it had a budget like that. I think it had a budget of like 2 million or 3 million or something like that. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful film. It's the same reason I love Time of the Gypsies and Underground from, where are they from? I don't think they are Yugoslavian. I think Yugoslavia was gone by that point. Yeah, it was from that general region. So you've got so many films out there that are all good in different ways. Like, I think people like Avengers Infinity War in a different way that they like, I don't know, A Clockwork Orange. I bet you could talk to people that would have just as much affinity for the Avengers Infinity War and then talk to other people that have just as much affinity for A Clockwork Orange. But they might not overlap because what makes those films good is so inherently different that you can't really compare them in any actual sort of way. People say that you can't compare apples and oranges and that sort of thing, but they are both fruit at the end of the day. So you can at least sort of recognize that there's a lot of good going on in cinema and in art in general, and it doesn't necessarily have to look how you expect. So yeah, do films need to be good? No, because what's not good to you might be good to someone else. Do albums need to be good? No. Do books need to be good? No. What do they need to be? They need to be interesting and engaging, thought-provoking. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care. Love you all. And yeah, keep making stuff. Just make as much stuff as you possibly can while you can. And then look back and start making more stuff. So have a good rest of the day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Now watch this drive. Oh, what a shot. I don't think he actually took it. Come on. This would be the one. This would be a hole in one. This won't be a birdie, it'll be an eagle. Oh yeah. Yeah, hit that mother. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about negativity and how as you continue to create stuff you're going to encounter negative comments, negative feedback. Generally these people are known as haters. I don't really like that term because I don't think that people who have negative things to say about your work are necessarily doing it out of some kind of hatred for you as an individual. Obviously sometimes they are, particularly if you're like a bad person at heart, or if you're just doing stuff that's really promoting negativity in general and like you can kind of hate that. And like there's loads of big YouTubers and that kind of thing where people do have genuine like nasty criticisms to give to them, and sometimes they're valid, sometimes they aren't, etc, etc. But the way that I sort of see the negativity kind of thing, especially online, is These are just people that are out there that are like you. You've got negative things about certain YouTubers or content creators or filmmakers or musicians or whatever. I bet there's some popular musician that you hate, that you just think, why the fuck, why does anyone listen to this garbage, you know? And you know, I certainly think that about various musicians that might be popular. I might think, like, why does anyone like this? But at the same time, people clearly do like it. So why should I let my lack of enjoyment get in the way of other people's enjoyment of these works? And when you're creating stuff and when you're just starting out, you're probably going to encounter some negative sort of feedback. And if you're not used to it, it can certainly hurt you and harm you and make you feel worthless. Like, you know, you say you've just put something out, you put your heart and soul into it, and all you get is one comment that just goes, "This is shit." You know, it might feel like you've wasted your time a little bit. It might feel like, well, I put all this effort in. I spent maybe months on this project, and I've got nothing to show for it other than this one negative comment. It makes me think, actually. About 4 years ago, I did a soundtrack to a movie called World Cup Heist. It's on Amazon Prime. I'll put a little link in the description to it. It'll be an affiliate link, but it'll be a link all the same. So just click the link and watch the film. It's a really fun film. But I made the soundtrack to it, and I was still learning music at the time. I wasn't a very good musician, but I made the album anyway. I made it in about a month. And I remember that there was a review of the film that said one thing in particular. It said, it got onto the score, and it said that the score sounded like, it said this: picture you go into the woods. Sorry, picture a monkey goes into the woods and finds a piano, and it sits down and it plinks around on it for a little bit. Well, that's what the soundtrack sounds like. And I read that, and in my head, I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. I love that. I like the negativity. I like the fact that someone has been incensed enough to negatively comment on it, because it means that I have made enough of an impact on that person to say something, that they have something to say as a result of what I've done. I like that fact. I don't necessarily mind that it's a negative comment. I don't mind that they're taking the piss out of my, you know, hard and earnest attempt at creating music. That's not a problem to me. Right? Because I have the confidence in my music to say, right, it wasn't the best thing ever. So what? Why does that matter? Why should I let that get in the way of my development? Why should I let the fact that I've made one thing that isn't necessarily the best thing ever get in the way of making more things in the future? And also, just because I've made something that isn't necessarily the best thing ever, why should I let that get me down? Because the process of making that album, that soundtrack, was really important to me. It really helped me develop my style and things like that. And there's a couple songs on there that I still quite like. And you're going to find that with everything that you do. You'll find a couple little bits in it where you had a good idea, where you had a little thing of, like, there's a nugget of inspiration in there that you can still see. You can still see your original vision amidst all the crud that came around from the practicalities of actually sitting down and making it. So what you should do, I think, if you get negative comments, is you don't need to tune them out. You don't need to not think about them or ignore the haters or whatever. Just don't let them get you down. Don't let them bother you. Don't let it get in your way, and don't let it mess with your mojo, your groove, and your general positivity that you should try and see the world through, like a positive lens. You try and see the world through a positive lens, and that's what I try and do. And obviously sometimes, you know, you go through a down patch where maybe you feel a little bit down, you feel a bit depressed or whatever, and you know, then you get a negative comment and it can hurt you a little bit more than if you are in a solid state of mind where everything feels like it's going great. Sometimes you're not in that mindset, and sometimes it's hard to take that sort of not good faith criticism, it's bad faith criticism sometimes, where it's just someone just being a prick to you. And that's fine, because again, it means that they have been incensed enough by what you've made or what you've said or what you've done to respond to it in some way. Even if they disapprove or they think that what you did was bad and you shouldn't have done it, why should you not have done it? Because otherwise you wouldn't have made a bad thing. If everyone thought like that, then no one would make anything, because everyone would be too scared to express themselves. So do you think that all the biggest creators out there, the biggest YouTubers, the biggest filmmakers, the biggest musicians and that, do you think they sit down and read these negative comments? Do you think they sit down and read all this sort of bullshit that comes their way and let themselves get super down about it and start responding to all the haters? They don't. They don't do that, because they've got better things to do. And you have better things to do than to sit and worry about what some random twat on the internet who has done nothing with their lives. Why should you let what they say get to you? Because you've made something. They haven't. You have. You're winning here because you've created, you've done something of worth. And even if it's not of worth to other people, it's of worth to you, right? So I think the main point of this video is just to let you know that even if you made something that isn't of good quality, that shouldn't get you down, that shouldn't worry you, because it's not you that has to be incensed by it. It's not you that has to feel the wrath of these negative comments, because they're not bad, right? It's just sort of whatever. And if you find one that's a little bit funny, you can take some solace in that fact and have a bit of fun alongside, you know? When I found that comment about a monkey playing the piano in the woods, I screenshotted it and I tweeted it out, because I was like, that's brilliant. Why should I hide the fact that I get negative feedback? Because everyone does. And I think owning your negative feedback is more impressive than just like trying to hide it or trying to act like people don't have negative things to say about your work, because they will. And even if they just do it behind closed doors, I mean, I bet you've watched a video today where you're like, oh, shut the fuck up, next, right? Because what they were saying or what they were doing in that video or that album or whatever, or that film, you're just like, oh, shut the fuck up, Jesus Christ. And you kind of get on with your day and things like continue from there. And that's fine, because look, someone might have given you a negative comment, but be real with yourself. Have you never left a negative comment? Or if you haven't left the comment itself, you've thought a negative comment in your head and just not left it because maybe you don't want to get them down? You know, you've had negative things to say about people. You've had negative thoughts about a piece of art, and that's fine, okay? Because not everything can be perfect. Not everything should be perfect. It's whatever at the end of the day. Why should you let it bother you? Why should you let it weigh on your mind? Because you've got enough stuff on your mind, you know? I bet you've got personal things that are going on in your life that deserve more of your thought process and more of your mental capability than some random guy left a negative comment on my video that I worked really hard on. Or, you know, I put all this effort into this film, and then I put it out and I uploaded it to Amazon Prime, and I got a couple like 1-star reviews from people that just said I'm a talentless hack and I shouldn't bother making anything anymore. Everyone starts out like that. All your favorite content creators, right? You try and find their earlier stuff and you sort of sink your teeth into like their really early stuff. You scroll to the very bottom of their Facebook page. You're bound to see some sort of bit of negativity, or you'll sort of see that they maybe had some like haters or detractors, I think is a better term than haters, because it's a little bit less loaded as a term. Because haters, I feel like, I don't necessarily think, you know, you have to do something really bad to make people hate what you do. I think hate is a very strong word, so I think detractors is a better term, because yeah, you're gonna get detractors. You're gonna get people that kind of say, oh yeah, you should stop trying to think of yourself as some bloody artist. You're not. Just get on with your life and be a normal person. And that's fine, people will think that. And if you let that get to you, then they've won, is the way that I see it. And you shouldn't let them win, because you're pretty good. Right? If you've gone out there and made something, you've sunk your teeth into a proper project and you've actually gone it out there, you've done so much more than 99% of the population, right? You're already special because of that. So just keep going, keep doing it, because you're pretty fucking decent, is the general point of this video. So I think that's going to be me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any thoughts on negativity, particularly if you've had negative feedback, maybe post a negative comment that you got, and just post it in the comments of this video, and we can sort of come together and just sort of maybe have a bit of a laugh at it, because that's what you do with these negative comments. When I get a negative comment, I like to screenshot it and send it to a couple friends. I'm just like, look at this is hilarious. And then we have a bit of a laugh about it. I'm not sending it to them like, oh my God, these people are so mean to me. I'm just laughing. I'm just loving it. I like these sort of things, you know, and I think that's good. I think it's good to have a sense of humility with regards to yourself as well. So, you know that the things you make aren't perfect, even in the moment of making them, and just, you know, go along with it. Just have fun. That's essentially it. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching this, and have a good rest of the day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. So you clicked the video, so you failed the first step. Turn the video off and go actually create something. So I'll be here just waiting while you go do that, and I'll be here once you come back. So turn the video off, go make something. Doesn't matter what, I don't care what, it depends on what you're into. Do you like crafting stuff? Do you like cross stitch? Do you like making videos? Do you like making music? Do you want to get into cross-country running? Whatever it is, go do something for it. Whatever it may be, go do some of it and then come back, because you can just do stuff now. I know it's sort of this sort of thing where you feel like you need to sort of arrange things and get things sort of sorted out before you actually go and do them, but you don't need to do any of that. You can just chuck your coat on and just go out and start cross-country running. I mean, you need a coat on in this fucking weather. If it's summer, you can maybe, you know, just take your trousers off, put on the lycra, and then just go for a run. If you like cross-stitch, just like, you know, maybe just watch the rest of this video while you sort of, I don't think this is how you do it, but just start doing stuff. I know it's easy to procrastinate and to sort of put things down the line for when things will be better and more right to actually begin, when you are inspired or in the mood or everything feels right. Maybe it feels wrong to do something now. Does it matter? No, because if you do it and it comes out not that great, what does it matter? Because you've still made something. That's the beauty of it. You can just go and make something. So go and make something. Stop watching this video, go actually do something in terms of whatever your passion is, and then once you've done that for the day, come back and we will begin this conversation about the idea of procrastinating and how it's very easy to get yourself down and to catastrophize about the things that you want to do, and how, you know, it will all go wrong and everything will fall apart. And if everything falls apart, so what? You know, you can always put it back together, because it's only a hobby or a passion or something like that. It's not like this is your worldly finances. This isn't, you know, serious stuff right here. None of it is as serious as we're making out. It's just fun. So go have some fun doing the thing that you love, right? And then once you're back, we can actually begin this conversation about procrastinating, because it's important to just go out there and try stuff and do things, because if you don't go out there and live life to the fullest, then at some point you're going to end up looking back and kind of regretting the fact that you haven't done nearly as much with the time that you had as you ought to have. You know, it's very easy to sit back and sort of go, oh no, what am I going to do? Do I do this? Do I do that? How am I going to sort this out? Am I going to get that done? I don't know how to sort everything out and work it all out in my brain. You know, this is all going to go so wrong and go so terribly. How am I going to figure it all out? What am I going to do? It's all so much. I just want to stay in bed and just watch Family Guy all day. Very easy to do that, okay? It's very, very simple to just sit back and do nothing. It's very difficult to just get up and immediately begin, to start, to get into the flow state as quick as you can, because I know it's difficult to just get up and do something, particularly because if you're watching this, maybe you're on the toilet and you're just like watching this on your phone. Maybe you're sat in bed, lying in bed, sort of thinking, oh, I don't want to get up. Maybe you're eating and you kind of just finished eating, and this is the video you watched after the main video where you were eating, and you spent that video eating, and now you've finished your meal, but you're still digesting it a little bit. So you're watching this video as kind of an afterthought sort of thing. Does it matter? Just maybe, like, if you're into music, open up Reaper or FL Studio, whatever it is you're using, and just begin. If you like making videos, just start recording something from your phone. Even just record out your fucking window, or just record what you're doing in the moment. Maybe don't if you're sat on the toilet. Just do whatever it is on a small scale, and just prove to yourself that you can actually do it. Because I know it's very, very easy to sit there and sort of worry and make things feel like they're so much harder than they actually are. But none of this stuff is nearly as difficult as we make out. It's all actually quite easy, as long as you just go for it and don't give a fuck about the consequences. Because what are the consequences of making a bad product, or you know, doing a bit of a rush job with your cross stitch? Not much. It just shows that, oh, I suppose you might need to buy some new like materials or whatever. But you know, the fact that you've done it and the fact that you can do it quickly means that your skills have improved anyway. So even if you don't feel like you've gained anything out of it, you really, really have, and you've done so much more than you even know, just by going out there and beginning and just creating stuff, no matter what your own mentality or your own anxieties are trying to tell you. They're trying to say, oh, don't do this, it's going to be crap, don't do this, it's not going to work out, you know, don't bother, just stay back and just do things the simple way. Very easy to do that, very easy to catastrophize, very easy to make it feel like the world is against you, but it's not. People are kind of rooting for you. you know, I'm rooting for you, you know, even though I don't necessarily know you, but I want you to go out and make something. And I'd love for you, once you've gone, made the thing and come back to this video, put a little comment just saying what you made. Maybe just put a link to it, or even just describe it. Just because you should be proud of it, because you fucking made that. You just went and did it. You just did it without a second thought, because it's in your nature. And I know it's hard to actually be like one with your own nature, because, you know, we live in a world where everything's kind of, I know this is a fairly naturalistic sort of thing, but, you know, concrete, locks on canals, you know, pathways and stuff like that. We don't necessarily live in a completely natural world, so it's easy to not set into your natural instinct to do the things that you want to do. But as long as they're not hurting anyone, and as long as they're benefiting the world in general in some capacity, go for it. Just try stuff. If you want to make music, that's a beautiful thing, because people out there love music and they can get something out of it, and they can try and find a new genre. They might find a new passion from it, and you might inspire someone out of that. I've apparently inspired people doing this. So, and I did this the same way that I'm telling you. Just start. Just begin. Don't worry about it. Don't think about how it could all go wrong. Don't think about the ways that it could all collapse in on you, because it's not going to. And if it does, it's not actually that heavy if it collapses, right? Because this is just fun. This is a hobby. This is a passion. This is like that core key part of your life, the personality, that you are a person that does this. You are a person that enjoys this activity. So go and do that activity. Fulfill your hobbies, fulfill your ambitions, and just start, just begin. And yeah, that's basically the entire video. Just start things. And I know I've said this so many times, and I feel like every time I've said it, you should have gone and actually begun doing that thing. And I really want to see the audience retention go like that on the first time I did it. I want to see our big drop off on the first 30 seconds, and I want to see it come back after a bit, right? Because I want you to go out and do it. Pause the video, start, okay? Stop, don't wait till the end of the video, right? Because you think there's going to be some weird thing at the end, or like, you know, you feel the need to complete this video so that you've watched it all or whatever. Just start making stuff. Don't worry about it. Just begin, because it's so much easier than you think when you get into that mindset and you try and not really worry about how it could all go wrong. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Please put your comments in the thing below just about what you create, how you do things, what your passions are. And yeah, that's going to be everything from me. Hope you have a good rest of the day. And right, now the video is over. Go and make stuff, all right? Do it. Just do it now, okay? And then maybe watch a couple other videos, I suppose. Not necessarily mine. If you're bored of these ones, go find another YouTube channel and like watch those instead. But I hope that you kind of like these ones and you want to watch a couple more anyway. But I totally get if you don't. It's all right. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about lighting. You might have noticed that this shot is a little bit grainy. That's because the ISO is set to 16,000. It looks brilliant, doesn't it? I know, it does look really good. However, I think part of why the ISO is sort of something that people say, like, that's a last resort, you know, in terms of turning things up, you know, you don't really want to get that. There's two elements to it. Do you want the consistency of having a single consistent look throughout the film? Or is it just necessarily the professionalism of having, you can go past if you want. Or is it the consistency, or is it the, have a good day, or is it the professionalism? I kind of disagree with the idea of showing professionalism in a film, because a film is meant to be like an artistic expression really, and art and professionalism don't really go hand in hand. I mean, what would be professional art? It'd be like corporate advertising, wouldn't it? Like, because that is technically a form of art, but it's not one I think any of us would call particularly challenging art. It's not anything that, imagine you talk to someone and you ask them what their favorite film was or their favorite bit of art, and they said like, oh, the My Money supermarket adverts. It just wouldn't work. It would be really weird. You'd probably look at that person like, are you actually human, or are you something else? Something in between? And yeah, in terms of the low light, I am not super worried about shooting things in low light. One, because this camera is kind of all right, but two, as long as you can make things out, as long as everything is visible, what's on the screen is more important than what the screen looks like. Would you rather watch the best film ever on an iPad, or do you rather watch Transformers 5, The Last Night, all 154 minutes of it on IMAX? I know what I'd rather. I'd rather watch the good film on a tiny little thing. I watched Buried on an iPad. It's a film about a guy that's stuck in, Ryan Reynolds is stuck in a coffin for the whole film. And I watched it on an iPad in bed. So it was perfect. That was a perfect way to watch that film. If I watched it in the cinema, I would not have had the same experience. And I really loved that film as a result. So I think getting onto the low light thing in general, I think people can often get a bit too worried about how things look. And the reason for that is because now there is the expectation, or possibly there always was the expectation, from the general world that things need to look a certain way. They need to look like this, or they need to look like that. But generally, they need to look slick. They need to look slick and polished, and like the everyday slub Joe can't do it. And I want to challenge that. I want people to go out and make stuff that looks terrible, because look at the lo-fi genre, for instance. I keep using the lo-fi genre as a thing, but it is important, because people that like lo-fi musicians in the 90s and the early 2000s going through to today challenged the status quo and did something completely on their own, from their own bedrooms essentially, and managed to make something really beautiful out of it. And out of all the lo-fi music out there, some of which I probably find very uninteresting, there's some amazing songs, like So I Guess We Can't Hang Out Anymore by the OCS. That's an amazing song. And it sounds awful. It sounds terrible. It's such a bad sounding song. So I don't think the look of something matters nearly as much as people think. I really don't. And I bet people who clicked on this were sort of wanting, some idea of like, how to make ISO like not as big a problem, or how to make the graininess not look so apparent, or maybe like some de-grain effect that you can add, which I know you can do, but you got to pay like 300 quid for this software, and I'm not paying that. Especially because it's all AI enhanced stuff now, and it's like, I'm not dealing with all that. Like, yeah, I feel like maybe people wanted that out of this video, and I'm not giving that to you. What I'm giving instead is just accept how your film looks. Accept that your film looks like crap, and that's fine. Because it doesn't matter if your film looks like crap. What matters is the story interesting? Are the characters engaging? Is what's going on like compelling in some capacity? Because if it is, then who cares what it looks like? At the end, like look at Primer. Primer is a really fascinating film, but it looks like crap. It's filmed on this little tiny Canon Fuji sort of film. So I'll give you a little example of what that looks like. See, imagine everything looked like this for the whole film, right? Now it depends on what the film is. If you've got a good film, this is fine, isn't it? But if you've got a film with really uninteresting characters that are just slabs of wood with mouths on them that are just talking, you're going to get so bored. Even if it's filmed on an Ariel X or whatever, you're going to get bored, because it's not the technicalities of art that make things interesting. Like the Mona Lisa is one of the most famous paintings ever, right? And it's not a particularly great like technical work of art in terms of paintings. There's certainly better in terms of technically made and like that kind of thing. Like it's the same way that Dream Theater isn't the absolute best band in the universe because they use the most notes, It's not about what tools you use, it's about how you use them, and that's essentially where things should be going and what you should be doing. You should be trying to make sure that things are interesting rather than making sure that they work on a technical level. Obviously, when you're trying to put stuff into Netflix or whatever, you're trying to submit your thing, there's technical requirements, and that can be a pain. And I can't help with that regard. There's sometimes that we've just got to bite the bullet. But, I think you can have a lot of fun with making things look cool. And if you're willing to let stuff just look weird, then you can make stuff look amazing. So I think that's going to be it, because we're kind of fighting the time here. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care, put some comments in, do all that sort of stuff. Comment about like you know, what sort of film that you've done. Like, imagine what's the worst shot that you got that you went back home and you sort of looked and you're like, fuck me, that's actually a really good shot. You ever get that when you're like shooting the shot and you're like, I'm probably not going to use this. And then you get back and it's like, that's the one. That's better than the one that I spent half an hour setting up. So yeah, that's going to be everything from me. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Bye bye. Whee! Into the distance he goes.